If you want to start to magnify your training efforts so that people retain and apply the information you're sharing at a higher rate, learn the power of the debrief. That is where the magic really starts to happen in a training session. Now, it sounds like a fancy ninja level training tactic, but it's very straightforward. A debrief is simply asking people their experiences, their feelings, their thoughts, what they learned, what they got out of the individual segments of a training session. In other words, every time you do a game, a breakout session, a group discussion, a hands-on activity, when you watch a video, that is a prime opportunity to do a debrief. Simply put, ask the participants, what are your all's thoughts on that? What did you get out of that? What challenged you about that information? What information did you draw out of what we just did? How did what we just did help you to understand the information that was shared before we did what we just did? It's really taking that next opportunity to get the participants to share their experiences. What did they learn? What did they draw from it? What stood out to them? What confused them even more? How did they connect the dots of previously shared information, etc.? The debrief. The more you debrief and you get your participants talking and sharing, the more of the heavy lifting of the learning that they'll do. They will retain information at a higher rate, and they will begin to apply that information at a higher rate. Get good at debriefs. Do them on a regular basis, and you're going to see a much greater impact from your training efforts. Utilizing a debrief, especially in a classroom-based session, is an important technique to not only foster a learning environment, but for you, the instructor, to understand where your participants are in their learning journey. The key to making that work, though, is building a safe environment. Generally speaking, it can be uncomfortable for people to speak up in a group setting. And especially if you're doing something like a new hire onboarding where people are already a little bit anxious, they aren't really comfortable yet inside the organization. So you, as the instructor, have to work 10 times harder to build that safe environment. There are some specific things you can do as an instructor to help build this safe environment. Utilizing humor is an easy way to do it, but certainly verbally reinforcing that you are in a safe environment is an important thing. I found that specifically instructing your participants that you are in a learning environment. Part of training is making mistakes. The point of training is to make mistakes because you're practicing, you're learning. It's expected that it's going to feel awkward and weird at first, especially if you're learning a new skill. So verbally reinforce that to your participants so that when you do the debrief, they feel comfortable to speak up and say, yeah, that new skill felt kind of weird. And then once they verbalize that, then you as the instructor can take them on that journey and help guide them, coach them, encourage them to keep practicing. The other thing to think about in terms of building safe environments is think about who else is in the room. It's not uncommon for leadership to want to come in and observe your training. And that's fine. They should do that. You should encourage that. But you need to be careful because when that senior leader is sitting in the room and then you're going to encourage people to be very vulnerable and open about, hey, I didn't understand that piece of information, I'm lost, they're not as likely to speak up in that moment. So you're going to have to navigate that either by doing your debrief at a different time or flat out telling the leadership who's sitting there, look them directly in the eyes and tell them, this is a learning environment. These participants are learning new skills. They have not mastered them yet. Now, class, let's get back to, we were talking about this last exercise. How did we really feel about it? And you set the tone with the senior leadership. So debriefs, it's important to do them. It's important to have a safe environment, and it's important that you, the instructor, build that safe environment. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment down below.